that the administration has managed to secure the release of 100 students who were kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic boarding school in Papiri, Niger State, last month. What's the latest that you can tell us about that?
Well, it is just what you said. We have 100 of them out. We are hoping that the others will sooner be released. What I know is that the security agents are making all kinds of efforts to get those children out.
Right. Well, we're hearing from officials in Niger State and from local police there that there was some negotiation involved. Can you tell us whether any kind of ransom was paid?
I don't know. I don't want to talk about security, people, the way they do their work. I'm not aware of that. All I'm aware of is that they got the children out, and the Governor Umar Bago received them today in Mina. I don't want to know the way they do. I have not asked them about how they were able to get them out, but at least it's the result that really matters.
Well, it's not the result matters, but the process also matters.
Well, I've not asked them about the process.
Right.
I don't know. I've not asked them about how they were able to get them out, but I know that they are making efforts to make sure that all the children are really gotten out of that place.
And the National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu told the school's authorities when he went to visit that the government would secure the release of the students and that this would be done in batches. So that suggests negotiations and a gradual release over the next few days or weeks.
Well, as I said, I don't want to talk about that. That is strictly a security matter. Maybe he has, the NSA must have had some information why he made that pronouncement in Papiri about the children. But as I said, it's not in my public to be talking about.
I understand that, but let's be clear that legally you're not supposed to pay ransom to criminal gangs or negotiate with them. From a legal point of view. From
a legal point of view, I think this government has been saying that it's not paying ransom.
Sorry?
The government hasn't been paying ransom. Nobody can say this government has been paying ransom.
Yeah, but it doesn't make any logical sense when you've got people who are either ideologically driven, which is why they go and take people in the first place.
I don't want to talk about the modus operandi of security people. They have a way of getting results, and I think that's what Nigerians should focus on, rather than how.
Well, I mean, it's important to know how, because if
nobody will share that on
what I'm saying is that if you go and take people and you pay them ransom, I'm not saying they did, but if you did, or you negotiate with them and compromise your principles and get their release, it just gives other groups incentives to do the same thing.
As I said, I don't want to be dragged into talking about their modus operandi.
Has any group come out to say that they carried out the abductions? Is the government prepared to name them? Are you aware? Because at one point it was suggested that they were bandits. At other times it was suggested they were jihadists.
I think generally the people operating along that axis from Sokoto down to Kebbi, Zamfara, they are terrorists. They are terrorists, simply terrorists. And either they belong to Ansaru or all these gangs, or they are just terrorists operating that.
Well, that would make it more unlikely that they would release people.
It depends. Sometimes the security, the way they operate, I don't want to talk about it. Let me just tell you, sometimes the way the security operates, they show them the signs that, look, we can pummel you, or you surrender, or do this and that. So I think I said I don't want to talk more about the way.
Because obviously, potentially, they could also offer an exchange of prisoners.
I don't know about that.
Right.
I don't know about that.
So if 100 have been released of the school children, and we know that 50 more have since been accounted for as having escaped, that still means that a large number, possibly around 165, as well as the 12 teachers,
according to the
still remain in the hands of the
Catholic school initially said 365 or so, but they were able to get 50 of them. Some say 51, who were never abducted. When the confusion came, they were able to escape from the school and they ran home. So the final figure they gave us that 215 students and 12 teachers were abducted. But we're grateful that we have.
So that means there's about 115 students and 12 teachers.
Yeah, 115 students, 12 teachers.
Right. So and new negotiations, I know you touched on this earlier, but just to be clear, negotiations are going on, or moves are underway to get them released, or a military operation is underway to secure their release.
You just spoke now about the NSA saying that those children will be released in batches. I'm sure they must have found a way around it, which I said, I'm not a security man, I don't want to be talking about security.
And after this particular kidnapping and a spate of others, we had various initiatives announced by your administration, the Tinubu administration, including hiring new police officers, redeploying some police officers from guarding VIPs. So what's happening with that? Because a lot of VIP people still have their police escorts and they don't seem to be obeying the order given by the President and the Inspector General of Police, do they?
Well, I think we have challenged Nigerians. If they see any VIP who has a policeman around him, they should let the authorities know.
Well, I mean, we're in it's not like you put phone numbers all over the place and said if you see them, I mean, in the Hilton here, you see them every day.
The IG came out to say he has withdrawn them, and I think mentioned a figure about 12,000 policemen doing VIP work. He said he has withdrawn them. And I go out to, I rarely see policemen outside like before.
Well,
So
I can tell you unequivocally that a significant number of them, certainly within a certain geographical area, like the Hilton in Abuja, you still see them around. I mean, you see these guys moving around with police and all.
If they are in Hilton, it will just be that they are here they are doing their work. This place, this is.
Well, I'm talking about accompanying people. I'm not talking about them guarding.
No, there are all kinds of policemen. There are those they call spy policemen who are not really. They are not really full policemen. There are special police people that the police raise to offer the service, that kind of service. They are not. If you are saying the police have 300,000 people on their payroll, those people are not. Those ones are not there.
So the people who are wearing police uniforms, carrying guns, are not real police.
They wear police-like uniform, but they are not really part of the workforce of the police.
Right. Do you think, let's move away from that and talk about this U.S. congressional fact-finding delegation that's been visiting Nigeria. I don't mean to be bombarding you with things, but I mean, it's not every day we have you sitting there. This fact-finding delegation, they've been visiting Nigeria, engaging with victims of insecurity, religious leaders, and government officials. What do you know about the scope and scale of their fact-finding mission?
Well, I don't know much about it. I know that they were with the NSA, and then they went to see the governor of Benue, and I think the governor of Benue must have told them, giving them the true picture of what's going on in Nigeria. You see, the government position has been consistent, that contrary to what they are saying in the U.S., what you mentioned Ogebe just now, contrary to what they are saying, there's no genocide in Nigeria. Yes, there are some killings in Nigeria, but it's not. Well, I don't want to use the word a lot of killings.
There are a lot.
I know there are some killings in Nigeria, and that those killings are not motivated by religion. They're not motivated by religion.
Right, but do you think their fact-finding mission indicates a lack of confidence in the Tinubu administration's official accounts of insecurity and issues of religious freedom, and that it reflects Washington's intention to independently verify allegations of targeted attacks and government failures?
No, I don't think so. I think what they have come to find out is they have been following one narrative all along. Oh, religious genocide, all kinds of things. Now they are in I think they left today. They came to the country to really see the other side. People have been feeding them all kinds of lies about what was going on in Nigeria. People even look at the Southeast. You read at times a church being attacked or some people being killed inside the church or something, and they say that is religious genocide. Is that religious genocide? That is Southeasterners against Southeasterners. There's no religion, because they're all Christians.
Well, to be entirely fair, and not being defensive, but I mean, there's evidence of infiltration of people from other groups into that area.
Look at what Governor Soludo said. He said 99% of the crime that happened there, they are carried out by their own people. 99%. He said 99%. So when you talk about infiltration, it's very, 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 in fact, insignificant. If you already say 99% are done by the locals and not by outsiders. So what I'm saying is that the congressmen, in fact, the most vocal of them, Riley Moore, must have listened to. When you listen to Governor of Benue, say this is not.
But that's the whole point, is that they didn't just come to listen to the governor of Benue. So we don't know what impression they've gone away with.
They came there. They had a meeting with him. They had a meeting with the NSA. They must have, because when the NSA and his team went to the US, they actually did not meet congressmen. They didn't even attend their congressional hearing. And this is an opportunity for them to really get the other side. They've been fed one set of narrative, and it's time for them to see the other side.
Right. But they went beyond the sort of typical diplomatic engagement, which usually happens in sort of government buildings and all the rest of it, to traveling directly to areas affected by violence to obtain first-hand testimonies, because they want statements from the victims themselves. And that suggests there is a distrust of the official narrative, doesn't it?
Well, I don't know about that, but what I know that they met the governor of Benue, and I must have told them the Nigerian version of what is happening.
Right. So just looking at everything we've been talking about, because I know you're going to be leaving in a minute, and we appreciate your being here. I mean, do you see today, with the accolade that Nigeria is getting for its intervention in the Republic of Benin to restore democracy, the rescuing of these 100 students, is today a glimmer of hope, glimmer of light in all the darkness and gloom of the last few weeks? Well,
I think what happened yesterday and what happened today only showed that this government is is committed to protect democracy, not just in Nigeria, but also among our neighbors. And what we have also seen in the release of the Papiri children is that our security people, the armed forces, the Air Force, the ground troops, they are up to the task of helping to protect this country. I think that's what I can see.
Buy your nano guy again. This man don't keep quiet. He not going to talk again. Charles, you want him to talk again to tell you the trick they used to rescue those girls, those students, so that people will start dragging him online. See, Bayoranuga said this, Bayoranuga said that. So he better keep quiet. He don't want to talk again. He's not tired. The man is tired. The last time he said when they rescued the 38 church worshippers in Kwara State, when they asked him, Bayo Alpha, you guys rescue 38 members. So how far you guys were able to rescue these people? No arrest has been made. And what happened? How did you guys get to release them? No adoption, no. You say no, they make a phone call to them. They make a phone call to bandits, to terrorists to release them. So they obey the phone call that the DSS made to them because they are scared of the DSS or Tinubu, because if they refuse to release them, they know the consequences of not releasing them. So they don't want God. Nigeria is a joke. Now, they're asking you now, how far? How did you guys get to release these girls? Now you know, say you are not a security personnel. You know what to speak for the security. But the last time, you were quick to respond, to speak. You think what you said, Nigeria was going to praise you for that? Because they drag you. Bayo Nanoga said this, Bayo Nanoga said that. Now you don't want to talk again, so that they will not continue to drag you. Can you imagine? Anyways, I have a lot to say. Before I want you to please pay attention. Listen to this video. We'll come back and talk about it. Because these people are taking us like, I don't know if they think we don't have sense, or it is only if you are not in APC party you don't have sense. Maybe that's how they see Nigerians. That's the reason why they continue to do this. They continue to tell us to our face that what can you do? As far as you are not an APC member, you don't have sense. Somebody who does not have sense, a senseless person, cannot do anything. That's how I see it. The reason why these people continue to ride on our intelligence every time. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's getting too much, and it's getting too much. Seriously, these people are taking us for granted, and something has to be done about this. Anyway, take your time, listen to this video. We'll come back and talk about it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be your guy, Roma, for me now.
You make of the stories, Mr. Akintobi?
Well, either way you look at it, it's good news that at least another 100 have either been released or rescued or ransomed, whatever the case may be. 50, a few days after it happened, 50 managed to escape, and we were happy at their return. And now another 100. The word is they've been rescued by the federal government security architecture. But there's been no official statement as to how this rescue occurred, whether it involved military interdiction, whether it was negotiation, whether it was ransom. At this point, nobody really cares. The most important thing is that 100 of them are back, and the remaining 150 we begin to look and hope to get them back as well, whatever it may take. As I have always advocated, though, whatever process by which these rescues or returns occur, we should never lose sight of the fact that a crime has been committed, and that it is very important to bring the perpetrators to book. If for no other reason, apart from, of course, that justice is seen to be done, there's also the deterrence factor, which is really critical. It's not good enough to just get these people back, especially in a situation like this where there are still others still in captivity, and where the government has not confirmed how these 100 came about. Did they escape? Were they ransomed? Was there a negotiation? Either way, if there was any kind of interaction that occurred to get this release, then there's going to be a reckoning for the second part of the equation, which has to do with acceptance of responsibility and prosecution and punishment. Nonetheless, it's possible that government is still being cautious in terms of those who are still left there, that it is important to get those ones back before we begin to seek retribution, so that we don't endanger the lives of the 150 and the 12 who are still there. But well, we're thankful for the 100 that have come, and we'll continue to encourage government to do whatever it takes, whatever means by which it got the 100 out, it should have the capability to get the remaining 150 out as well. So we continue to wish the government well. A government that can go into a neighboring country at the request of that country and take on an army, take on an organized, structured, weaponed army and prevail over them, should be able to do the same over bandits and terrorists. It's not rocket science. Of course, the Nigerian army showed its mettle over the weekend, and we are proud of them. The fact that they showed that we are a major power in the region. I mean, when trouble started, who was the first person that Benin Republic reached out to? They called Nigeria, come and help us. And they specifically asked for air support, boots on the ground, whatever it would take. You are our big brother. You are the one who can get us out of this situation. And Nigeria rose up to the task and did what it needed to do. So let's look internally now and say, if regionally we are that much of a power and we have the prowess to be able to arrest an unfolding bad situation in another country, we should be able to resolve our own internal problems. I'm not saying the dynamics are the same between a coup and a war against terrorism, but at the end of the day, it's still a conflict, and it's still pretty much the same approach of mano a mano, us against them, and we cannot allow them to prevail. So I would say that the same morale, the same passion, the same vivacity that we approached Benin over the weekend, we should also apply it to our own internal situation.
All right.
Talking about the U.S. Legislative team that came to Abuja over the weekend, well, it just speaks to ongoing attempts to collaborate on this situation. Ever since President Trump issued his threat about a month ago, there have been joint efforts on both sides. Even Nigeria has visited the U.S. to try and allay concerns about the terrorism or the attacks being focused specifically on Christians, and trying to make the case that, look, as long as your ideology is different from the attacker's own, no matter what your religion, you are you're vulnerable to attack and to killing or maiming.
I know they also...
That's the general message that Nigeria is trying to pass. And so this visit from America is to further those discussions. And you can see the NSA in the picture with congressional representatives from America. They want to continue to find ways to collaborate without actually having to have boots on the ground from American troops.
I think they also had a meeting with the Benue State governor as well. But over to the Vanguard newspaper, Mr.
By asking you this, President Trump recently designated Nigeria as a country of particular concern over alleged Christian persecution. Do you believe this designation is justified?
So the designation is justified and has been justified for many years. The commission that does the recommendation started recommending, I think, in 2009. So for about 15 years they've been recommending, and it's only happened twice. Now, some of us thought it should have happened way earlier. And the law was passed in 98. It was one of the first bills I advocated on the Hill for. And by the year 2000, we had the Sharia riots in northern Nigeria that killed 3,000 Christians across 4 states. And so at that time, they should have recommended Nigeria for designation. But what happened was, because it was a new law, new agency, all of that, the delegation that was doing the fact-finding came. They met with northern governors, and they hadn't met anyone from the federal government. So it wasn't until I facilitated that meeting and the federal government said, look, it's the states that are doing this, it's not us. So they decided not to designate the states for that.
You are, of course, an internationally recognized human rights lawyer who has represented victims of attacks across Nigeria, including the Middle Belt. How challenging would you say this issue of alleged Christian genocide is for you as you straddle the fence between the US and Nigeria?
So, I mean, it's very depressing work, because I have to say that when we were advocating for democracy against the military in the 90s, those of us in the opposition in diaspora said, look, let's downgrade all our mini fights, all the Middle Belt Ogoni issue, let's focus on getting the military out. Once they're out, democracy will resolve our problems. Unfortunately, none of us would have anticipated that Nigerians would be dying in droves like they are now. And two very quick examples that illustrate this. The first is, on June 13th, there was a massacre in Yelwata. And the number of people killed that night, 278, was more than the people killed in the war between Iran and Israel, in which missiles and airplanes were used. So people with machetes and AK-47s killed more people by June 8th. Another quick example, of course, is in Plateau State. On Palm Sunday, there was a massacre in Ukraine. Russia bombed the bus and killed 32 people, civilians. That is being investigated as a war crime by the ICC. But guess what? That same night, 54 people were slaughtered in ZK Plateau State. One of the women that were helping, 7 members of her family killed, including her husband and her kids. And her hand was slashed off. We just got her a prosthetic arm. But that is what genocide looks like.
Yeah, but is it were they being killed because they were Christians, or was this communal violence?
All right, so
just as an adjunct to that question, are you also aware of the fact that a lot of Muslims are being killed in Nigeria?
Look, there's no doubt that there is collateral damage, but the fact of the matter is, in the US, a couple of weeks ago, a National Guardswoman was shot in the head by a guy screaming, "God is great," in Arabic. The people who killed Alice's family were screaming, "God is great." You cannot look at both situations and say religion was not a factor. And so it's very clear. These folks are very systematic, because they look at the communities that they fall within a certain identity, and they target them. Now, I'm from Benue State, which is over 90% Christian. We don't have indigenous Fulani communities. So the attackers coming from other states and other countries and attack and kill us.
Yeah, but there's the argument that a lot of them come in driven by other factors other than religion. In other words, the point that is being made is that nobody is denying that there's killing taking place, but that the factors that make these attacks, that drive these attacks, is not really. They're not going to say, okay, let's go and attack Christian communities or whatever. They just say, well, there's land over there, we want that land, we're going to get rid of whoever is in it and take over that space.
Well, it doesn't quite work out that way. The message is, let's go and take out the infidels. So from the very beginning, there's a religious connotation. I think on your show some time ago, I told the story of how the spouse of a judge hired a Fulani to take care of his cattle. And then one day the man came back and said, I nearly killed an idiot's infidel today. And he said, why? He said, I was grazing the cow on his farm and he was resisting. And the spouse of the judge panicked and said, I can't have my agent killing people because that's effectively me. And so he fired the Fulani guy. The next Fulani guy he hired disappeared with his cattle. He got the police involved, and at a point, people told him, listen, if you don't let this guy go away with it, he'll come after you. And so he gave up on that. After your show, I ran into the spouse of the Supreme Court Justice, and he said, I heard that story, and it sounded like my story. I said, my lord, it was yours.
Right.
So we're saying that judicial officers are frustrated because of the impunity of these people. So
based on what you're saying, I'm assuming you're one of those who's been highlighting this issue as a specific Christian genocide in America where you operate from.
I think that the facts are clear, they're established, and there's no doubt. For example, Mohammed Yusuf.
When you say the facts are clear, established by whom? Because there's still fact-finding missions taking place.
Well, there was a process that led up to the ETIO designation of Boko Haram. I did a 75-page brief. We showed how Boko Haram had killed citizens of 15 countries. People don't realize the extent to which it went. Boko Haram has attacked American citizens. My friend was in the UN building that was bombed. An FBI agent working at the US Embassy in Abuja was bombed in the police headquarters bombing. So this have all happened. Americans have been abducted by Fulani headsmen, and special forces have come in to Nigeria and rescued them covertly. And this is not known publicly. So they have access to way more information than we have. But the point I was going to make was that Mohammed Yusuf preached. And he said, listen, you were wiping out the infidels. He said, Yaradua flew me on the presidential jet and begged me to stop killing the infidels, and I'm not going to do it. These have been transcribed. We have the videos. We've transcribed them. We've handed them around. And in fact, I think some of them were presented to the delegation today. So there's no doubt that there are certain people who are conducting genocide. And that's Boko Haram. Let me go to the Fulanis, the Fulani ethnic militia, FEMAs they're called. One of their hallmarks of their atrocities is if they meet a pregnant woman on a farm, they will slaughter her. But then they will split open her abdomen, pull out the fetus, and butcher it. It doesn't get more graphic than that. Now, there are some who say they want to instill terror on whoever comes to the scene afterwards. But I say, attacking the fetus, you're trying to eliminate and end these people. And to conclude on this thought, there are over 300 communities in Middle Belt of Nigeria now that have been sacked and are occupied by Fulani ethnic militia. And I can't point to one Fulani village that has been occupied.
Right. I have to say that bit about cutting open a woman's stomach, I haven't actually heard that before. Yeah. But, and I don't know, I haven't seen any evidence to support that. But if that's the point that you believe. Do you say that, do you think, for example, or how would you react when critics say to you, that by highlighting these, I have to say, alleged atrocities against Christian groups specifically in Nigeria, that you might be perceived as fueling religious tensions in this country?
Well, the people who are fueling religious tensions are the people who are killing others and chanting the name of God and the greatness of God. Okay, and so basically what we're seeing is...
But there are revenge attacks, though. That there are attacks from the other side against the other side, aren't there?
Well, we keep hearing that there are clashes. And excuse me, when you come into a community and you kill a 3-year and a 4-year-old, a 3 and a 4-year-old cannot clash with you. When you attack me in my home as I'm sleeping and you burn me alive with my family, that was not a clash. We keep missing the point that these are invaders who are coming in and wiping out people on their ancestral lines. It's not a clash.
Well, I mean, you're a lawyer, and I'm not trying to justify before people start going, oh, he's blah, blah. We don't take sides. We're simply trying to assess the evidence before us. I mean, because we've heard of people who say, oh, some of these Fulani herdsmen were seen somewhere, and people, the youths of a village, mobilized and went and killed, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 of them, and then these people come back and kill 20, 30, 40 of your own. I mean, nobody's sort of sitting there saying, well, we killed 5, so technically you ought to kill 5 as well. You see what I mean? Well, what it is basically is that if you hit me with a stick, in order to stop you coming back to hit me again, I'm going to hit you with a sledgehammer. I mean, and I'm saying that it works both ways. You see what I mean? That's why people say that this is a very, very complicated affair, very complex affair, that even a lot of Nigerians themselves don't quite get their heads around it, not to talk of the Americans who are not part of this society.
Well, fortunately, they can look at the data and it's pretty clear, what is happening. I'll give a quick example. In June of 2018, there was a massacre in Plateau State. That weekend, over 200 people were slaughtered. Now, in one particular village, 86 people were killed. There was only one Muslim who was killed. And why he was killed was they didn't identify him as a Muslim. He died as collateral damage. Well, here's where it gets interesting. A Muslim cleric hid 300 Christians in his mosque, and he refused to allow the attackers to kill them. And he has been hailed as a hero. And at that time, the US government was denying that it was a religious thing. But the fact remains that he saved 300 Christians in his mosque. That was the protection. So we can't deny the obvious. And just to wrap up on that, the International Criminal Court, I did a lot of work with the International Criminal Court to get them to even begin investigating Boko Haram. I went to them, I sat down with the prosecutors, I said, the Boko Haram blew up the UN building, your fellow UN civil servants. Why are you not looking into that? It's amazing some of the lapses we've seen. And after they investigated, they finally indicted not only Boko Haram, but the Nigerian army for atrocities. They have indictments as we speak. It is a lack of political will to proceed. That's why it hasn't happened.
So how do you think the US government can balance its concerns about religious freedom with the need to support Nigeria's efforts to address security challenges in this country?
Now, so let me point out that the US and Nigeria have had amazing historic relationships. And if we just look at the last 25 years of democracy, I kid you not, this is what happened. President Obasanjo, incidentally, is the only Nigerian president who was first to host an American president in the US, in Nigeria, and also the last to host one, because he hosted Jimmy Carter and ultimately he hosted Clinton and Bush. Now here is what is interesting. When 9/11 happened, Obasanjo was so close to Bush that he flew to the US, sat side by side with him and told them, we will send you 3,000 Nigerian firefighters to help you. Nigeria was trying to help the US. Now, this is interesting because when Obasanjo and Clinton had a good relationship and Bush took over, Obasanjo was concerned when Bush invited him. I happened to be in the country, I happened to meet him. That was my first time meeting him. And I said to him, I said, Mr. President, he said, I'm worried. I don't know why this guy invited me. I said, you have nothing to worry about. You have more in common with this guy than you realize. And what had happened was, Bush wanted to do a hallmark activity with an African president on HIV/AIDS. They wanted to go to South Africa, but the president then was controversial. But Obasanjo had hosted a summit on HIV/AIDS, and they said, this is a guy we can work with. That's how the Americans are. They study things. Now, right now, we're at a point where there's a real drift. As recently as 2 years ago, the US wanted Tinubu to invade Niger and kick out the coupists, and that didn't fly. And so this year, they're at a point where they're saying, if you will not protect your own people from being killed, we'll go ahead and do it ourselves.
Well, that brings me, because we've literally got a minute and a half or so left. I'm sure you know that we talked about this US congressional fact-finding mission that's been visiting Nigeria, meeting the federal government, Christian leaders, victims. Congressman Riley Moore appears to be a fundamentalist Christian, because I mean, in all his tweets and so on, he's going on about this, that, or the other thing, and a big critic of the Nigerian government's handling of this issue of alleged Christian genocide. I mean, he's the one leading the group. Do you think they're here with an open mind, or are their minds already made up?
Well, the thing is, in fairness to the Republicans, they are a bit more honest about their assessments than the Democrats do. The Democrats just deny. But I noticed that he came here with a Gulfstream jet. The congressional delegations that have come to Nigeria before usually come commercial. But that shows you how serious this is on the totem pole if the president allowed him to take a jet to come to Nigeria and do this fact-finding. So I think they really took it seriously, and I think that the evidence will speak for itself.
Emmanuel, I want to thank you very much indeed.
Now, the delegates that the US sent to Nigeria for peace finding, to actually see if they are if there is Christian genocide going on in Nigeria. I know now this whole thing is going to be watered down and no action will be taken again. And the next thing is to say, okay, they want to collaborate with them, they want to work with them, military, all those things is nonsense. It's not going to work again. So they just forget about it. And now, like I said before, it will give opportunity to these terrorist bandits to strike, because at that time I said it, they won. If Donald Trump failed to military to intervene militarily, to guns are blazing, these people will take advantage of the failure for them to have even threatened, even if it was not a threat, but they regard it as a threat. So they will take advantage of that threat if Donald Trump failed to intervene in this manner. Do you understand? Because it's getting too much. Now, Bayo Onanuga, you ask him now, he's like, he doesn't know what to say again, because he doesn't want to be dragged online. Whatever he says now, how they get to release those guys, he has no answer again. He has not communicated with the security, with the NSA. But the last time he told us, he doesn't want to say something doesn't want to say something out of the point, because they warned him that, hey, Baba, why did you say so? That's it. A minister, a spokesperson that does not have any information. Anyways, you know the thing, yeah? Like I said, they are taking us for granted. They think everybody, we are fools in this country. Meanwhile, we are not fools. Because of our quietness, they're taking us for granted, regarding everyone of us as a fool, because we do not belong to APC. As it is now, if you are not APC member, you don't have sense. Do you understand? That's how somebody will come telling me that you rescue 38 people, 38 members. No arrest was made to the culprits. No arrest was made. No gunshot. Nobody was arrested up till now. But they were rescued. You said no ransom was paid. How did they get to release them? No answer. Now let me shock you. This one that happened before I even go there. He said no ransom was paid, no negotiation. Right? That's what he said. That's what they have been saying. That is what they can say on the camera. But off the camera, they do all of those things. Those members, directors of Ministry of Defense, those directors, 6 directors that were going for promotional exam in Abuja, they were kidnapped. They paid money. They asked the family to pay money, which the family said they donated. They contributed money for their release. Yet, out of 6, 4 were released. 4 were rescued. 2 were not rescued. Upon 6 of them contributed money. Who knows what happened to the rest? And the husband is crying, dragging the Ministry of Defense to provide him his wife after paying money. But it is on record in government website that they do not pay money to bandits. They do not negotiate. That's all you see. Government is not going to tell you that. Do you understand? They're not going to tell you because they know it is not good. When you do that, it gives opportunity to other set of people to come up to see it as a business, that there's business in this. Government, as weak, they have overwhelmed, they have overpowered the government. So government cannot do anything again. This is the reason why somebody will have the mind, the audacity to tell us that 300 and something students were arrested up till now. No, they don't know. They have not been released. They're not being rescued. NSA, which is the National Security Advisor, will come tell the whole world that those girls, those students, they are doing fine. In kidnappers, then, or bandits, captivity, people in captivity, you say they are doing fine. The parents should not worry. They will be rescued batch by batch. Can you imagine? That this student will be rescued batch by batch. That the parents should not worry. That they are doing fine in the bush. Many questions. How did you get to know they are doing fine? Is it that 2, 3 things? You went to visit them in the bush? You know where the bandits are? That's the reason why you came back to give a daily report or weekly report that they are doing well. Family should not worry. Or you spoke with the bandits on the phone. Probably you gave the bandits gave the phone to the students, one of them, or the teachers, to speak to NSA on the phone. The condition. They say, okay, they are fine. Please, help us. Give them whatever they wanted. They say, okay, don't worry, we'll try. Do you understand? See, let me tell you something. These 300 and something children that have been kidnapped. I could bet it with any amount with somebody. In the next 2 years, until Tinubu leaves office in 2027, these 300 and something students will not be rescued. Go and put it down. This video, mark it down. These students, how many now? I think they still have about 200 remaining. 200 left now to be rescued. 200 or 100 or something. 200 something. Yeah, 200 plus. Go and mark this video down. in the next 2 years of Tinubu's administration, all these 2 students will not be rescued. Especially this one, they will not be rescued. Do you know why? The demands is too much. That's the reason why they are not doing it bash by bash. Do you know how much? Imagine the one in Kwara State, even if they said they did not pay money, the bandits demanded for 100 million per person. 38, 100 million times 38. How much is that? Then in total, they said they want 3 billion that time. 3 billion. That's what the bandits said they demanded before they rescued them. So now they rescued them. They didn't tell us how much was paid to the bandit, how much ransom was paid. All they could say, they did not pay money. Why, if they have not paid money, why is it taking them time to use, they say tactics, they say techniques they used in releasing those 38? Why is it difficult not to release this 300 or something students? Why? Because they are too much, they are many, and the demands, the money is not the same. If now they're asking you for like 100 billion, for example, if you calculate 100 million per person, if they can demand 3 billion for 38 times 38, do you know how many times you times 38 times before you get 300? Now times it 300. Now they might be demanding for 100 billion. So the government will not have 100 billion to give them at once. That's the reason why NSA is telling us that they will be releasing them batch by batch as a student want to enter school, university, that they will be giving them admission batch by batch because of the school. Is it the same thing? So whatever means you are using to release these girls, to release these students, if not because of the money, the demands is too much to make the conditions, what is stopping you not to use the same techniques to rescue 50 to release them? So now they could only come up with the amount of 50. So they just want to do that to show that they are working because of these delegates that just come to Nigeria for this investigation, Christian genocide, not Christian genocide. Now it is on record as APC. Now it might be on record that all the students has been rescued. Meanwhile, it is a lie. So again, mark this video down. If this student will be rescued before that time, but I pray, my prayer is for them to be rescued. If I have what it takes to go there and rescue them, I would have done it since. But I can't do nothing. But I'm just telling you now because of the lies in this government, because they are not sincere, they are not truthful, they are not serious. Now you see, Bayo Nanoga could not say nothing again because he knows this is a government of failure, a government of lies, a government that are not being truthful to its citizens, government that, I don't know, a lot. So I just pray your player should be, let's manage this within the next 2 years and let Tinubu get out of that office so that a reasonable person can come in. Please share this video and subscribe to this YouTube channel.